Under the shadow of the orbital rings that encased the intergalactic Concord Academy, silence wasn't just encouraged, it was enforced. 1,000 species walked the halls, and not one dared raise their voice or fists. The law was simple: no violence. Not a gesture, not a reaction, not even a surge of adrenaline was permitted. The peace accords, ratified by every civilized species, had placed humanity under watch. Their wars had been too efficient, their tactics too unpredictable. They had to be softened, reformed. So, they were invited to the Academy. Not as equals, as a species to be studied. Rena Ward walked with the posture of someone who had survived too many battles to care about who watched her now. Her steps were precise, her eyes forward, and her silence louder than protest. They thought they were watching a broken soldier placed in academic exile. But Rena knew the truth. The moment they banned fighting, they revealed how afraid they were of what humans could do without even throwing a punch. Her class was approved without debate. Advanced self-defense through posture and awareness. Even the Halzari administrators, who blinked less than once a minute and thought slower than their servers, dismissed it as harmless. So did the Dren, armored insects with spears for limbs, and the Varkari, whose minds could touch yours without you noticing. They all thought Rena had accepted her species' place. She didn't argue. The human cadets who showed up the first day came out of curiosity more than hope. They didn't expect much. What they got was a lesson that didn't begin with movement. It began with stillness. Rena had them stand in silence. She asked one thing: blink. Not at random. Not out of habit. With intention. With timing. She told them, you don't have to strike first. You only need to know when the moment is yours. A Varkari observer watched through glass and reported nothing. It looked like yoga. But then came the incident. A Dren student attempted to corner a human cadet in the library corridor, slapping books from his hands. A harmless dominance display. The cadet didn't react. He blinked, and the Dren slipped, crashed into a light fixture, and collapsed. There was no video evidence of contact. The Halzari reviewed it for hours. Nothing. But the human smiled as he walked away. Soon, the self-defense class had a wait list. Only humans applied. Rena said little. She showed them how to breathe under pressure, how to position their body to always have an exit, how to shift weight so that an attacker would be off balance just by approaching. No fists, no kicks, just presence, just timing. Lesson 1, she said, is blink. If they see your eyes close, it means you already saw everything. Word traveled quickly among the non-human instructors. They didn't understand it, but they felt it. The humans were walking differently. Quieter. More grounded. And when confronted, they didn't flinch. They simply adjusted. An alien named Thar, one of the Halzari's logic enforcers, pulled Rena in for questioning. We have reports of subversive behavior. We require clarification. What is the purpose of your instruction? She met his stare with unblinking calm. Readiness. No more, no less. Thar ran analysis on the class recordings. His algorithms found nothing measurable, but his instincts, buried deep beneath layers of programming, whispered, danger. The tension finally cracked during a cooperative simulation exercise. A Halzari cadet attempted a maneuver meant to embarrass a human peer in front of their instructors, reaching out as if to guide them and subtly tripping their balance. The human didn't step back. He shifted gently. The Halzari's own momentum carried him past the human, straight into a wall-mounted gravity node. No injury, but full humiliation. Again, no violence, no fault. Rena reviewed the footage and offered no explanation. She stood at the back of the debrief, arms crossed. When asked, she replied, "That's the problem with always being in control. You forget what it means when someone simply doesn't follow your script." Now the Academy watched closer. More drones hovered near her class. But they found only breath work, timed posture shifts, and drills that resembled synchronized standing meditation. And always blinking. Behind closed doors, Rena taught differently. Not with words. With silence. Her students learned to listen to muscle tension in the floor. To feel the rhythm of footsteps 2 rooms away. To understand not just the body, but the pause before movement. They began to move as one. Without speaking. Without effort. The Halzari increased surveillance, but their tools failed to capture intent. The neural dampeners installed in every student detected no adrenaline spike. The humans were calm. Perfectly calm. The Dren grew restless. One commander said, "They're not violating rules. But they're training for something. We don't know what." "They're preparing," Thar replied, "for when someone tries to make them stop." Rumors spread fast in the cafeteria corridors. A Varkari student whispered that he saw a human block an object without moving. "It hid his aura," he said, half believing it. Another claimed a human girl disappeared between steps. Just a blink, then gone. The Halzari dismissed it as paranoia. But even they knew, perception mattered. The Academy's peace wasn't built on truth. It was built on fear of disorder. One morning, an alien enforcer demanded entry to Rena's class mid-session. She paused the drill. The enforcer asked, "What are you doing here?" She answered, "Waiting." "For what?" "For you to make a mistake." He left without another word. By the 3rd week, the other cadets, non-human, began avoiding eye contact with humans. It wasn't fear of violence. It was fear of unpredictability. The sense that every move could be countered without resistance. That their physical superiority no longer applied. Rena's students didn't smile. They didn't provoke. They didn't speak unless spoken to. But when they did, the tone was off. Not submissive. Not aggressive. Just certain. During a routine simulation debrief, Rena said only this. Lesson 1 isn't about blinking. It's about what happens in the space between that blink and what follows. That's where control lives. Thar, watching from his console, clenched his hands under the desk. For the first time in centuries, he didn't feel in control. In her final instructor evaluation that week, Rena submitted a 1-line statement. "They banned violence. We adapted." When asked to elaborate, she refused. When threatened with revocation of her position, she nodded. "Replace me then. But know this, you've taught us something more dangerous than combat. You taught us what happens when we have to win without being allowed to fight." The Halzari decided to let her continue. Privately, they knew they had no reason to stop her. Publicly, they had no evidence. But in the minds of everyone watching, it had already started. They blinked. And everything changed. The Halzari began locking doors. Not literally, no, they weren't that crude, but procedurally. Every human student was now scheduled for random wellness assessments. Rena's class was marked for increased observation. Neural dampeners were recalibrated. Surveillance drones were doubled. And yet, nothing changed. The humans still moved like shadows, spoke with precision, and remained unreadable. Every report came back clean. No spikes in aggression. No threats. Just eerie consistency. The kind that unnerves empires. The Dren grew impatient. They believed in dominance by design, and this silence from the humans rattled their sense of order. So they issued a challenge under Regulation 44B, an open reaction trial. Peaceful. Monitored. Competitive. All species could observe. A test of physical timing, not combat. Safe on paper. The Dren even named their own elite cadet. Korak, trained since hatching. Fastest in his caste. Rena submitted her response. A girl named Isla. 17. No combat history. Quiet. Thin. Dren officers snickered. The arena was filled with neutral observers. Gravity was set to fluctuate. Lasers randomized. The task was to cross the room unscathed. Korak went first. 12 seconds. 1 hit. Applause. Isla stepped in. She didn't look left or right. She didn't crouch. She blinked. Once. 10 seconds later, she stood on the other side. No hit. The room went silent. The Halzari reviewed every frame. She never dodged. She was simply never in the wrong place. Timing, they said. Fluke, others argued. But one word kept rising: human. After that, blink training became a whisper on 1,000 lips across 100 systems. Civilians asked for copies. Military academies asked if it was legal. The council demanded clarity. The academy insisted the humans had done nothing wrong. But something felt very wrong. Behind closed doors, the administrators debated measures. Neural suppressants, memory resets. One Halzari whispered, "We let them evolve in silence." Another answered, "No. We forced them to." That night, a Dren squad initiated a surprise simulation. 5 of them cornered 4 human students in the zero-gravity chamber. Officially a test. Unofficially a trap. Rena arrived halfway through. The Dren were sprawled across the floor. No bruises. No resistance logged. Just confusion. They collided with each other. Missed swings. Wrong calculations. And the humans? Untouched. The footage revealed only angles. The humans shifted just before each motion. Never blocked. Never countered. Just moved. And every Dren mistake was their own. Rena stood beside the simulation door and said nothing. One Dren groaned, "They're ghosts." She smiled. "No. They're awake." The footage leaked. Within hours, interstellar feeds spun with it. Humans disabled Dren without contact. New martial paradigm? Did the Academy create a threat? The Academy released a statement. No laws broken. No harm caused. No violence used. But nobody cared about legalities anymore. They cared about implications. The Halzari summoned Rena. She entered calmly. Alone. "You are undermining the Academy's structure." "No," she replied. "I'm demonstrating the flaw in your structure. You built it assuming obedience would suppress capability. You're spreading fear. I'm spreading control, ours. You've weaponized stillness. Only because you left no other weapons." They threatened termination. She handed over a data chip. It contained one line, Lesson 3, "They react. We predict." Then she walked out. By now, even the Varkari, so certain in their telepathy, avoided prolonged contact with human students. Their thoughts were hard to read now. Patterns off. Emotionally opaque. One admitted privately, "They're tuning themselves to a frequency we don't understand." Back in class, Rena didn't speak. Her students formed a circle. Eyes closed. Breathing steady. When the outer door clicked open, they all opened their eyes in unison. Not fear. Recognition. They had already felt it coming. Academy Command decided on one last move. They called a galaxy-wide student demonstration, each species to display a non-violent cultural discipline. The goal was unity. The hope? Public distraction. But they miscalculated. Rena offered to let her students lead the human presentation. No objection. What harm could come? They stepped onto the platform in front of delegates from 77 systems. And did nothing. No music. No speech. No visuals. They stood. Still. Silent. Eyes closed. 5 seconds passed. Then, in perfect synchronization, they blinked. And every camera feed glitched. The room's temperature shifted. Several delegates shifted uncomfortably. An Ilari ambassador whispered, "I felt targeted." The humans opened their eyes and left the stage. The silence after was heavier than any speech before. That night, the council met in secret. They've created an art form out of threat without action. It isn't aggression. But it isn't peace. They didn't break the rules. No. They became the exception. Meanwhile, Rena debriefed her students. You didn't move. But you advanced. You didn't speak. But you were heard. They expected spectacle. You gave them consequence. Then she looked at them all. You know Lesson 3 now. The moment just before the reaction, that's when you win. Thar filed his final report. He didn't call it a violation. He called it a shift. Within weeks, the Academy received new applications. Not from humans. From alien species. requesting access to the Blink method. Permission denied. Rena uploaded the next module to her restricted database. Lesson 4. When they adapt, you're already evolved. The Halzari sent one last message. Cease all instruction or be recalled for decommissioning. Rena replied, You taught us to avoid confrontation. We just took that to its logical conclusion. And now you're the ones afraid of it. A month later, a new protocol was adopted by the Galactic Council. It banned human-led movement training. By then, Rena's students had already dispersed to 47 stations across the galaxy. Each one carried no weapons. Each one carried timing. And when asked what they learned at the Academy, they all answered the same way. Lesson 1. Blink. The story of the humans at the Academy became legend, not because of war, but because no one ever figured out when the war started. Just that one day it had already ended, and the ones still standing had never raised a hand.